Who's ready for some junk? Welcome back, everybody, to Star Wars Junkies, the Junk Man. And what are we going to do today? We're going to count down the Star Wars movies. This is my personal ranking of the Star Wars films. Now, I'm not going to count The Last Jedi because I haven't seen it yet. I'm not going to see it until Thursday, which is 2 days from now. I can't wait. I'm excited. Can you believe that we're going to get a new Star Wars movie? There's just something in the air that you can, when you can go to sleep and know that there's a new Star Wars movie at the theater right down the road. It just makes you feel good, doesn't it? But I get a lot of people always asking me, how do you rank the movies? Which one's your favorite? Which one's your least favorite? So I thought I would do a rank here for everybody, and then after I see Last Jedi a couple of times, maybe I can work it in and decide where it's going to go. My theory is it's going to go a little lower. That I'm going to like The Force Awakens a little bit more, and I'm going to like this one a lot more than I like Rogue One. So it's somewhere between Rogue One and The Force Awakens is my theory where it's going to fit in. I could be wrong. And before we get started with that list, I'm going to say I'm not going to like The Last Jedi as much as I like the original trilogy. I don't think I'll like any movie, new movie, more than I like any of the original, A New Hope, Return of the Jedi, and Empire. Come on, I grew up on those films. They're more than movies to me. I grew up on them. I saw them originally at the theaters. In '77, I saw Star Wars. So I really grew up on these films, and you know, I played them with the toys and debating it in the playground with my friends. So to me, they're a lot more than just the movies. So I got a lot of that history with it that I don't think any movie, you know, you see a movie as an adult, it doesn't connect with you mostly the same way it does as your child. So I'm not thinking I'm going to go in liking this movie more than I like any of the top three. And maybe that's biased, maybe it is. But let's get to my top Star Wars films. Now, I'm not going to count the Clone Wars cartoon movie that came out. If I did, it would be at the very bottom of the list. I'd rather watch the Ewok TV specials. Now, I'm not going to count them because they're TV specials, although in some countries they were released at the theater, but I don't really count them as movies. And, of course, the holiday special is a variety show. It's not a movie. So we're just going to count the live-action Star Wars movies. So let's go. And at the bottom of that list, the Phantom Menace. You can't be too surprised by that, can you? I don't want to sit here and overbash the prequels. People's done that too much, and it's too easy. And I'm not going to blame George Lucas for making the film he wants to make. I think the prequels are okay. They're overly bashed. There's a lot of Hollywood summer movies that are a lot worse. So even if this is at the bottom of my list, what makes this film work? At the time, it looks amazing. Now, I know a lot of people criticize it now because it doesn't hold up. I think it holds up decent. It looks a little worse when you got the Blu-ray than it does on your regular DVD or VHS copy. Yeah, I have the Phantom Menace on VHS. It's probably one of the last VHS films I ever bought. And the Darth Maul fight is probably one of the best lightsaber fights in any of the Star Wars movies. Even if at times it looks a little too choreographed. It almost looks like a dance. But it's still probably my favorite fight scene of any of the Star Wars films. So what makes this film not work? Why is it the bottom of the barrel for me? The thin plot, for one thing. There's really no meat to it.
Where's the beef?
A babbling, childish character that comes off annoying. And you know who I'm talking about. Newt Gunray.
Now there are two of them.
And yes, there's Jar Jar Binks. But I hate Newt Gunray even more. Jar Jar's annoying. I'll give you that. And he didn't work. He wasn't funny. Man, that Newt Gunray, just when they first showed him, opening night, it took me out of the movie. I'll never forgive that guy. Some say this movie goes too political. It's too much about politics. But for me, that's where the movie works. I love the Senate scenes. I love hearing about the Trade Federation, all the politics stuff. I know a lot of people don't, but I actually like the politics of this film. I like seeing the early days of Palpatine, how he was playing the Jedis and playing the Senate, taking his time to get deep into the Senate and overtake everything. I love the politics of this film. And to me, that's the best part of this film. I know many will not agree. But hey, even when Star Wars is bad, it's still pretty damn good. So that leaves us with number 7, Attack of the Clones. Some people actually hate this worse than The Phantom Menace. I don't know why. It's very entertaining. And I'm not going to hate on this fan for hating Christian. I know a lot of people hate him playing Anakin Skywalker, but I actually like his role as Anakin Skywalker. I don't think he did a terrible job acting like everyone says. Some of his dialogue isn't great, but he's doing what was written. Can't blame him for that. And after he killed those groups of Tauntauns, did I say Tauntauns? Okay, Anakin didn't kill a group of Tauntauns. That would have been pretty awesome if he did. But when he killed that group of Tusken Raiders, I really felt his anger. I really felt his emotion during that scene when he's telling Padme about it. First time I saw it, I got a little choked up. I felt sorry for Anakin. And it really touched me how he was acting. I know a lot of people will laugh at him because he gets so angry, but it worked for me. And I'm not going to bash his cheesy love lines with Padme. You know, talking about sand and how Obi-Wan won't let him do his magic tricks and all this stuff. Because we all said dumb, cheesy things as a teenager. That's how teenagers talk. If someone went back and found videos of me in my teenage years talking to girls, I probably would have been just as cheesy as he was. Probably more cheesy. Teenagers say dumb, corny shit like this.
I love you so much. I love you more than there are grains of sand on every beach of every planet.
But what's bad about this movie? Again, it's the weak plot, like the Phantom Menace. Even when they give us a good setup, like who is this Cypher Dyas? That never really pays off. I really wanted Cypher Dyas to be more. I was hoping it was Qui-Gon Jinn under a different name. Being that Cypher Dyas started the Clone Army 10 years before this movie and the Phantom Menace was 10 years before, I thought it would give death to Qui-Gon Jinn a little bit, but they kind of dropped the ball on this whole Cypher Dyas thing. And to me, the action scenes mostly just don't work, such as that bounty hunter chase. It just seems a little too long. And when it's supposed to be intense, it's not really intense. I mean, we know Anakin's not going to get really hurt. We know nothing's going to happen to Obi-Wan. They're both in A New Hope. So we know it's real no tension there. And to me, at least for Anakin, during this bounty hunter scene, he comes off more as a superhero. And that's something I didn't like. In the original trilogy, Luke Skywalker, the only Jedi we really knew, maybe Obi-Wan, they didn't really come off as superheroes. They came more as super ninjas or something that, yeah, we couldn't, in our mind, we could have worked our way to a Jedi. Yeah, sure, we couldn't lift rocks with our mind and everything, but it didn't take it to that superhero level, which I feel Attack of the Clones took the Jedis to that superhero level. And I didn't like it. But I do rate this film higher than The Phantom Menace, mostly because Anakin's slowly turn to the dark side. It makes it more intriguing for me to watch. And I like Jango Fett. The chase scene with Jango Fett and Obi-Wan, and I love that sound of the ships flying. So there's a lot in this movie I did like. It's not as good as this next one we're going to talk about, but it's not as bad as The Phantom Menace. And I'm sure there's no surprise here. Revenge of the Sith. What almost everyone calls the best of the prequels. Almost anyone's prequel list, this is the #1 prequel. And for me, also, it's the best of the prequels. However, Lucas seems to be trying to cram a lot of stuff into this one story. It's like he wrote episode 1 and 2, got to 3, and then realized he had a bunch of stuff he had to cram in this two-hour movie. Such as, why didn't Qui-Gon disappear? How did he become a Force ghost? I was really looking forward to find all this out. And what did we get? Just a little scene with Yoda saying, hey, Obi-Wan, guess what? I talked to Qui-Gon. And he's a ghost now. And I'll teach you how to be a ghost also. And it was crammed in at the last minute. Like Lucas cut the whole film and then somebody asked him about it. He said, oh shit, yeah, we got to go put that in. And so they went back and threw that in real quick. It would have been nice if this film could have breathed a little more. Show us a little more of the Star of the Republic. I know a lot of that stuff was cut out. It would have been nice if it was in there. You know, take a little time to breathe and let us get our breath. It seems like it starts with action and it doesn't let you down through the whole movie. Some might like that, but I just want a little bit of room to breathe. But after the first act, the movie really starts to pull me in. The whole Anakin and Palpatine is great. Them two, whenever they're together, is the best part of these films, of the prequels. The opera scene, I'm sure everybody loves that. You're sitting on The first time you see it, you're on the edge of your seat. We all know what's going to happen to Anakin. Yet we're all intrigued by them talking to each other. You can tell that the Emperor's playing Anakin. Anakin's falling for it. In your mind, you're saying, Anakin, what are you doing? Why are you listening to this guy? You're falling for the tricks. The opera scene is probably one of the best dialogue scenes in any of the Star Wars movies, not just the prequels. And then we get to the Obi-Wan Anakin fight. That goes on a little too long to me. And again, like with Attack of the Clones, makes him a little too superhero at times, jumping around the lava pits and everything. Now, as a kid growing up, it was always told to me that Anakin and Obi-Wan fought on top of a volcano. That sounds pretty badass, but I can go with the lava planet. That's okay, but riding around those little things like a video game, fighting and jumping, and it went on just too long. And that brings us to number 5, Rogue One. Lucasfilm's first attempt at a spin-off film, and they kind of tripped going out the door. It at times feels like 2 movies edited together. But the action scenes work. I'm not going to lie to you, I know everybody loves the end battle. And I love the end battle too, but now when I rewatch it, it seems like it's all I'm waiting for. I start the film and I'm like this. And I'm waiting for the battle on Scarif. And of course I'm waiting for the Vader. Everybody loves the Vader scene. But it seems like it's a drag to get there. Now I don't hate this film. I just wish it had more character development. I didn't care about any of the characters in it. It's a fine action movie, but I like to learn a little bit more about people. Jyn Erso, we start with a little child, and where we could have probably got interesting, maybe showing her grow up a little bit with Saw Gerrera, show us doing some training and stuff. No, it just cuts right there where she's a child, jumps to 10, 15 years later, where she's in her early 20s. We get told about some stuff she's done, a list of what she's been arrested for and everything. But I would like to see some of this. And it seems like almost every character in this film, we don't get to see anything they've done. We just get to hear about it. And then when we do get to that great battle scene, don't really care about anybody when they die. You know, it doesn't move me. You know, when a main character dies, by the time at the end of the film, you should be in love with these characters. You should care if they die or not. But I just didn't care either way. Now, I've heard people say, well, Junkman, this is not the trilogy. They didn't have other movies to work on. That's a bullshit excuse. Why? There's plenty of movies that don't have sequels. That's just a 2-hour movie where I'll really fall in love with the characters. They could have done it. They could have spent the first, half of the movie making me really love these characters. I didn't have to love them all. They could at least give me someone I really loved and cared about. Jyn Erso? No. And unlike any other Star Wars movie, I have to look up these people's names. I can't even remember. I know the blind wannabe Jedi. Can't remember his name. Saw Gerrera, I remember. Brody, was that one of them named Brody? And it's just, maybe I just need more time. But it seems like walking out of the prequels, I knew everybody's name, all the new characters' names. The Force Awakens, I knew everybody's name. And here's Rogue One over here later, and it's still hard for me to remember these characters because they were so two-dimensional. There was nothing. But I feel like I'm bashing Rogue One a little too much. I do like it better than the prequels, but it's right there with Revenge of the Sith. Not sure at times where I put them. On this list, I put it after Revenge of the Sith, but I could easily be in a mood where Revenge of the Sith is better. Number 4, The Force Awakens. This was the first time since 1983 that I felt I was back in Star Wars. The prequels didn't really feel like Star Wars. I don't know. I can't really pinpoint what it was. Some people say it's too much CGI. Maybe that's why. I'm not sure, but it's just, I think because we were at a different time period in Star Wars. Everything looked slick except for the Tatooine scenes. And it should have, because it was when before the Empire took over. So everything probably looked better. So I understand that point of it. But to me, something about the prequels didn't feel Star Wars, and I'm not going to blame Lucas for trying to do something different and for telling the story he wanted to tell. But The Force Awakens was the first time I felt like I was back in that world. Now, people's going to tell you this is a remake of A New Hope. It's not. I wish people would stop saying that. Sure, they're similar in certain parts. They have the same beats. But if you look at all the other Star Wars movies, they all have about the same beat. A young person growing up in the desert, finding an older mentor, The Mentor's killed. I mean, that's right, there's Phantom Menace. And it's also A New Hope. And it's also The Force Awakens. And we were given a great villain, Kylo Ren. He's even better than the first time we saw Darth Vader. Now, Darth Vader has the whole full backstory and everything, but if you take just A New Hope and just The Force Awakens and look at just Darth Vader and what we know about him in A New Hope and what we know about Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens, Kylo Ren's a much deeper character. I love seeing that struggle he has with the good side and the dark side. Something I wish I saw more in Anakin in the prequels. And how can anyone not like Rey? Sure, people's going to call her Mary Sue because they're looking for things to complain about. Luke Skywalker used the Force in A New Hope to destroy the Death Star. No one called him a Mary Sue, or Mary Luke, or Mary Lou, whatever you would call it. Well, this girl called him that.
I like the film, but there are some parts that were hard to understand, such as how a simple boy from the country can fly a spaceship and shoot a gun and hit right on target.
But Luke gets a pass for knowing about the Force because he spent some time with Obi-Wan, but Rey doesn't get a pass. And they act like everything comes easy to her when it doesn't. But the Force was calling to her. The Force was helping her get in touch with things. So it wasn't like she just blindly figured out how to do anything she did. And with Rey, you have a fun, loving character that you get to know. You get to learn about her. You get to know about her more than I can say about Jyn Erso. And like Jyn Erso, Rey didn't have a whole backstory to get to know her. You got to know her in the first half of the film. Unlike Jyn Erso, where you just get to be told something about her. Now, it's not a perfect film. Well, then again, most films aren't. The main thing that upsets me is Starkiller Base. I wish they would have found something better. And when it destroyed the system it destroyed, I can't remember what it was, I didn't care. You know, in A New Hope, we cared when Alderaan blew up, because we knew it was Leia's home planet. We cared that Yavin might blow up. With this, the first time I saw it, I wasn't even sure what was going on. I still don't understand how Han and them saw the lasers fly over there on the planet they were on while it was shooting this other system. And I didn't even know what system they were blown up. I remember having debates with people on Twitter. Some people thought it was Curzon that blew up, but it wasn't. Even if it was a rehash of the Death Star, it didn't do it as good as the Death Star. I just didn't care. I didn't care. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't care what it blew up or care if it didn't blow up. Anything. So I wish they would have picked something better. But I do love this film, and I can watch it over and over again. Number 3. Return of the Jedi. As a kid, and I think most of us, at least in the 80s, growing up Star Wars, as a kid, Return of the Jedi was our favorite. And I applaud Lucas and his team. He had a lot to cram in this final part of the trilogy. He had to free Han Solo. He had to explain who the other Yoda spoke of was. He had to deal with the conflict between Vader and Luke. He had to find out if Vader was Luke's father. He had to deal with the Empire ending because he wanted to end the saga. So like Revenge of the Sith, he has a lot to cram in, but they do it great. It doesn't feel like everything's being crammed in and thrown at you at once. You have a lot of time to breathe. And it has Ewoks. Don't start with the Ewok bashing. No one bashed Ewoks in the 80s. When I was growing up, nobody talked bad about the Ewoks. The Ewoks are great. Sure, maybe Wookiees would have been better. But the Ewoks showed that you didn't need technology to defeat an empire. That you didn't need a Death Star or laser guns or X-Wings or the Falcon and stuff like that to destroy a government. That all you needed was your brains, the willpower, and a lot of wood.
Yeah, me.
Number 2, A New Hope. The one that started it all. And it's hard for me to sit here and say anything bad about it. This is a great film. But over the years, mostly my fault for seeing the movie so many times, it can drag a little in the first act. Once the droids get on the sandcrawler, maybe until about the time they meet Obi-Wan, it kind of drags for me. But again, this is probably my fault because I've seen the movie so many times. But when I put the movie on, this is usually the time where I go to the bathroom or end up checking my phone or send out a couple of tweets. But again, I admit, this is just nitpicking and trying to find something wrong with it. It's only dull to me because I've seen the movie probably 1,138 times.
Enough of this.
Number 1. And come on, we all knew what was going to be number 1. Everyone picks this as number 1, don't they? Or most people. The Empire Strikes Back. Hands down, the best Star Wars movie ever made. And like I said, growing up, to me, Return of the Jedi was the best Star Wars movie ever made. But as you get older, you start appreciating The Empire Strikes Back more. I remember when the movie came out, a lot of my friends at the time didn't like it too much. Even the reviews from critics were kind of bad on this film. But as we got older, or maybe after we've seen the whole trilogy, Empire really took off as the best of the best. The epic Hoth battle, who doesn't like that? Luke's training with Yoda, Han in the asteroid belt. I mean, all these classic scenes are great. It just all works. And unlike A New Hope, this time we have kind of two stories going on. We have Luke training with Yoda, and then we had Han and Princess Leia trying to escape the Empire. So not only do we get the whole Jedi Force kind of storyline, we also get the Vader chasing down the Han and crew storyline, which I love. The prequels, it seems like everything was about the Jedi or the Force or the Sith. But these original trilogies, the Jedi and the Sith and all that Force stuff was, sure, it was a big part of the film, but it wasn't the main part of the film, or the only part of the film. That's why I kind of wish the prequels maybe threw in one or two characters. I wish the prequels had maybe one main character that wasn't a Force user or a Jedi or a Sith or something. There was no normal people in the prequels. And ever since I saw Roger Thorpe on The Guiding Light get killed off time and time again and come back, I've been a fan of cliffhangers. I know, my mom used to watch Guiding Light, and I would watch it with her, and I would get hooked on these cliffhangers, and I love a cliffhanger. And that's what I love about Empire. Some people complain that it had a cliffhanger, or that we had to wait 3 years to find out what happened. I loved it. This gave me something to talk about, think about, write about. It kept me going for 3 years. I love a good cliffhanger. I mean, I grew up in the era of Who Shot JR, so maybe that's why I love cliffhangers so much. In fact, one of the earliest shows I remember watching was a show called Cliffhangers. I wonder if anybody even remembers that.
Watch Tuesday on NBC. They don't call them cliffhangers for nothing.
And to me, everyone says The Empire Strikes Back is dark. I guess it is the darkest one, but it's fun. There's a lot of humor in this movie. Sure, it's dark, but it's not too dark where it can't have fun. And after all, isn't that what we want from a movie? We want to go watch it and have fun. And how can you watch The Empire and not have fun? I would love to see your rating. Put it in the comments below. I'd like to compare my list with your list. And thanks for watching. Please, guys, hit that subscribe button. Anyway, thank you for watching. Keep your eyes right here. Or just go to StarWarsJunk.net. Thanks again.
Bye, baby girl. Stay perfect. Just for me.